Hello everybody and welcome to this microphone test featuring the new Sony WF-1000XM4s. Now just keep in mind this is strictly a microphone test and not a full-on review. But in this video we're going to be testing the microphone on these earbuds in a few different controlled environments, and we're also going to be comparing them to a few other earbuds. But with all that being said, we're going to be starting off with a pair of wired earbuds so that we can get our baseline. So these are the Apple EarPods, and overall I think I sound pretty good. But in this video we're going to be testing these earbuds in three different scenarios. First in a quiet room like this one, then we're going to be simulating road noise, which will be supplying us with a constant low frequency sound. And then we're going to be simulating a coffee shop, which will be supplying us with a random higher frequency sound. So even though EarPods sound pretty good in a quiet room, they do absolutely nothing to block out any ambient noise, because right now you can clearly hear all of this road noise. And the same thing can be said about being in a coffee shop. My voice still sounds pretty good, but you can still clearly hear all of this chatter in the background. But now here are the Sony WF-1000XM3s, and we're starting off with these to see if there has been any improvements. Now, in general, I like and recommend Sony's headphones a lot, but their microphones are not their strong suit. Now, the WF-1000XM3s did get an update that did improve their microphone, but I still sound pretty robotic. Now, when it comes to blocking out road noise, my voice is still a little forward, which is a good thing, but you can definitely still hear a good amount of road noise in the background. And the same thing can be said about blocking out chatter. My voice is still a little forward, which is a good thing, but you can still hear a decent amount of chatter in the background. However, this microphone does do a good job of muting itself a little bit when you are not talking, so that it's not constantly pumping in chatter. Then when you start talking again, you do start to hear that chatter. But now here's the star of the show, the Sony WF-1000XM4s. And overall, I'm gonna have to say that this microphone is a downgrade from the Sony WF-1000XM3s. First off, clarity isn't as good, and since the highs are a little pushed down, these earbuds do sound a little shallow compared to the WF-1000XM3s. But the real downgrade is when it comes to blocking out ambient noise. For starters, the WF-1000XM4s are letting in more road noise than the WF-1000XM3s, but also your voice isn't as prominent as with the WF-1000XM3s, making it harder to hear you. But then there's also just a lot of static in the background. And when it comes to blocking out chatter, even though the WF-1000XM4s are blocking out the same amount of chatter, your voice isn't as prominent as with the WF-1000XM3s. And then there's also a little bit of static in the background alongside some choppiness. But just like with the WF-1000XM3s, if you stay quiet, the mic will mute itself, but overall, I am going to have to say the WF-1000 SM3s does have the better performing microphone here. Now, I usually don't do this, but since microphone call quality is a weak point for Sony, I thought I'd also throw in the Sony 1000XM4 headphones, whose microphone is a little better than their predecessors, but it could be better. Now, in a quiet room, I'd say this microphone sounds more similar to the WF-1000XM3s than the WF-1000XM4s because of the elevated highs. However, the headphones don't block out as much noise as the WF-1000XM3s, and then there's also just a bunch of static in the background, almost like I'm getting hit by wind noise, but I'm clearly not. And when it comes to blocking out chatter, there's still that static in the background, and the headphones are letting in way more ambient noise than the earbuds. But now let's move on to the rest of the competition, starting with the AirPods Pro. Now, just to save time, the AirPods and AirPods Pro perform pretty much the same. And in a quiet room, I'd say the AirPods Pro is putting a good emphasis on your voice with good clarity. And when it comes to blocking out road noise, even though the AirPods Pro are letting in a decent amount of noise pollution, they do a much better job of raising your voice, so it's much easier to hear and understand you. And the same thing can be said about blocking out chatter. Even though the AirPods Pro are letting in a decent amount of noise pollution, the main focus here is my voice, and there's no weird static in the background when I'm talking. Next up are the Galaxy Buds Pro, which I feel also have a good sounding microphone for phone calls, but they do have a little bit more amplification to them, so you might hear a little more of an echo with them. Now, when it comes to road noise, the Galaxy Buds Pro do let in a little more noise pollution than the AirPods Pro. But the Galaxy Buds Pro do a much better job of putting an emphasis on your voice than the Sony WF-1000XM4s, but there can be a little bit of choppiness from time to time. And the same thing can be said about chatter. The Galaxy Buds Pro block out a little less noise than the AirPods Pro, but the Galaxy Buds Pro do put a better emphasis on your voice than the Sony 1000XM4s. Albeit your voice can get a little choppy from time to time, but at least there's no static in the background. But now we'll switch over to some honorable mentions, starting with the Jabra Elite 85Ts, which I feel have a decent enough sounding microphone for phone calls, but sometimes I do wish this microphone did have a little bit more amplification to it because sometimes it can be a little harder to hear me. However, this microphone does let in a noticeable amount of road noise, and this microphone also lets in a noticeable amount of chatter. So personally, I would try to avoid taking phone calls with these earbuds in a noisier environment. And then there are the Sennheiser Momentum 2s, which have a ton of amplification to them. Now, when it comes to blocking out road noise, your voice can get very choppy from time to time, more choppy than the Galaxy Buds Pro. However, this microphone does a very impressive job of blocking out chatter, even though it has a ton of amplification to it. But finally, these are the OnePlus Buds, and these earbuds really do have an impressive sounding microphone. In a quiet room, these earbuds sound great, and my voice sounds very natural. But what's really impressive is just the amount of low frequency sound that these earbuds manage to block out. Because right now you can barely hear any road noise in the background. Because for comparison's sake, if we were to switch over to a monopole microphone, you're going to clearly hear all of this road noise. But if we were to switch back over to the OnePlus Buds, it is severely reduced. And the same thing can be said about blocking out chatter. These earbuds are doing a very impressive job. Because again, for comparison's sake, if we were to switch over to my lapel microphone, you're going to clearly hear all of this chatter. But if we were to switch back over to the OnePlus Buds, it is severely reduced, but my voice still sounds great. So with all that being said, I'd say that the microphone on the Sony WF-1000XM4s still need a lot of work, especially since their predecessor, the WF-1000XM3s, is outperforming them in both clarity and blocking out noise pollution. So if you do plan on taking lots and lots of phone calls with your earbuds, I still recommend that you pick up either the AirPods Pro or the Galaxy Buds Pro. But still, these larger companies still gotta get on OnePlus's level. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. If you want to pick any of the products up mentioned in this video, those will be linked in the description down below, and you can also support the channel by checking out the merch store. But other than that, I'll catch you next time.